Okay, today I'm going to talk about the dirty little secret of flashbacks. So, this video is for you if you have encountered any sexual trauma in your life, regardless of whether it was during childhood or as an adult. But you will be familiar with this, so let's see if this rings a chord with you. Your partner decides that, they want to be intimate, they want to have sex, and you're all like, okay. So you're in the middle of it and you're hot and heavy, and the next thing, bam, right? Your trauma all of a sudden is being replayed in your mind. You see your abuser. You remember the moment. You feel the feelings that you had in that moment. And you see it like it's a video screen right in front of you. It happened quick, it happened fast, and now, boom, you freak out and you immediately want to disassociate. You want to disassociate with your partner. You want to disassociate with the moment, and you're freaked out that it happened. Now, all of that guilt, that shame pops back in, your sense of self and your self-esteem in the toilet, okay? Totally in the crapper in the moment. And you immediately like, we got to stop. And it's like Tom Cruise ejecting in Top Gun. Boop, we're out of here. Sound familiar? Okay. So what happens is your flashback is crippling you. It's crippling you in the intimacy department. And it's making it so that the intimate relations you have with your partner, you can't have. And I bet you anything that your partner in that moment said, what happened? And you probably said, I can't talk about it, or nothing, or I don't want to talk about it. Okay? Because in that moment you feel shame. You feel shame about even elaborating that you all of a sudden had a thought of your abuser doing awful things to you in your mind, right? And you don't want to tell your partner that that's what you thought about while you were being intimate with them, okay? Because now you're all sitting there thinking, what are they going to think of me, right? That I want that, or that it popped in, or why. I can't explain it. I don't know why it popped in my head in that moment. I didn't want it to pop in my head, right? But you don't feel sexy. You don't feel pretty. Okay, you don't feel in love in that moment. And now your partner, on the other hand, is going, well, what's wrong, And then what do you say? You say, it's not you, it's me. Which is true, except where does that leave your partner? It leaves your partner in a space of saying, okay, well, how can I help you? What can I do? What can I make you feel calm and comfortable, right? And at that point, you don't know. You don't know. You're like, I don't know. I just got to get out of doing what we're doing, and it's not sexy anymore, right? And then you get upset with yourself. Now comes the double layer of guilt and shame. It's a double layer, okay? The first one was all about the trauma that popped up. The second one is the fact that you literally bailed on your partner in the middle of being intimate. And now you've left them high and dry, right? Now they're frustrated. Now they're upset. Now you're frustrated, upset because they're frustrated and upset at you because you were the one that bailed, right? You're in this loop. Now, the next time, right, your partner wants to have sex. You're sitting there going, I don't want to have sex because I know I'm having flashbacks, right? So you are intentionally trying to avoid having the flashback again, but you don't want to tell them that that you're having the flashback, all right? So let's talk about what's actually happening. All right. So there are two main types of flashbacks in the sexual trauma space. All right. The first type of flashback happens when you're actively in an act that is like the previous act, right? So you're having sex, right? And boom, that's when it triggers. Okay. That's straight up brain science. And I'm going to talk about brain science in a minute. The second type of flashback is the random fucker that pops up out of nowhere that you literally go, where the fuck did that come from? What the hell? Okay? That's what I call an energy flashback. And I'm going to explain that one too. All right? So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to talk about brain science. So a couple of things with trauma survivors. All right? So first off, with general brain stuff, right? Your brain actively looks for rewards, and it actively looks to avoid pain. All right? So anything that gives you pleasure, you move towards. Things that don't give you pleasure, you move away from. When you encounter yourself in a situation that doesn't give you pleasure and you're in it, okay, you get the hormone cortisol release. Okay? What you do not get is dopamine released. You do not get the oxytocin release, nor do you get adrenaline. So what happens is we get in this loop of constantly getting a cortisol drip going in our brain. Okay? And it starts a negative process between us and the act of being intimate with our partner. Okay? So that becomes a major problem. The other thing that happens is because of your sexual trauma, your emotional responses ended up getting hijacked. That's literally what it was. It was hijacked, right? And so now there's a trigger that pops up again, right? This happened, boom, the brain does a recall, whoop, it's right there in your face. Okay, so that's brain science. And I'll talk a little bit about, how to undo that in a bit. The second thing that we're going to talk about is energy. So in the random, flashbacks that pop out of nowhere, this is what is happening. When you have sex with anybody, all right, your chakras, your energy chakras, and your energy being, so whether you want to call it your soul, your consciousness, your spirit, whatever you want to call that, it's just a big ball of pure energy. That's what it is, all right? And this is our physical avatar. So our energy is out all around us, and then it integrates with the physical avatar. When your energy intermingles sexually with another person's energy, your chakras all kind of like line up a bit, okay? Now, what that means is that your abuser hijacked your energy, okay? Now, let me explain this in a way that makes sense. Have you ever met somebody before and after talking with them for like a couple of minutes, you're like, man, I feel like I know this person. Like I've met this person before, but I haven't met this person before, right? That is your energy signature, recognizing that other person's energy signature. The reason why you don't recognize the physical person in the physical is because the energy signatures recognize each other from a different life when you both had different physical avatars, So that's why this model of avatar does not comprehend that physical model of avatar, but your energies are matching. You're like, I know this energy, So that's an example of how energy and energies touch and you understand, all right? So back to the trauma and the energy. So one of the things that happens is when your abuser hijacks, your chakras, all right, from an energy perspective, all right, some of your energy retains in their energy being, and some of their energy retains in yours, and that becomes a problem. Now, to an abuser, somebody that's a predator, somebody that, did the act, understand that they consciously made the decision that they made. And it probably wasn't the first time they consciously made that decision. So, to them, your abuse is a trophy. Mull on that. And what happens is in those random moments where something pops in your head, you're like, what the heck? It's because your abuser was recalling that moment. And from there, it's a telepathic connection from their energy to your energy that still has a link. It still has a cord to it. And that's what triggers in you. It's the same kind of concept as when you've been thinking of somebody for, maybe you think about them all day or maybe a couple days, and all of a sudden they reach out to you and you're like, oh, hey, I was thinking about you. Telepathic energy connections. That's what's happening. All right. And I can obviously go in depth further. I think I've got some other videos on telepathy and stuff like that. So you can look at some of those other videos if you want to, see my thoughts on telepathy and how some of that stuff's working. So yeah, you've got the two basic things that are happening in these moments, right? But the question is, how do you stop this? Well, the energy one is, in my mind, the easy one, So the first thing that you've got to do is you've got to cut energy cords, and you've got to clear your energy, and you've got to push out that other person's energy away from you. And one of the things I do is I do what I call a rebound, So rebound in my energy field, because I'm pretty big about making sure that I don't put out negative karma, okay, to somebody, right? Somebody threw, a pile of poo at me and I want to throw poo back. But that's not what we're looking to do, because we're all about breaking the cycle, right? So what that means is you can protect yourself and simply say, any negative thoughts and negative energy that person tries to send to me just rebounds off of me and goes right back to them. Okay, it's their energy. They sent it. No, thank you. I don't want it. Have a nice day. Go away. Okay. I can teach this very specifically, like the specific words to use, things to do, etc., stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Now, when it comes to the brain science of, okay, great, well, I'm in this moment with my partner. I want to be intimate, right? How do I get past it? You have to rewire your brain, okay? You have to rewire your brain so that when you have the moment, okay, instead of it popping in and it crippling you and be like, I can't do this, right? You say, no, stop, okay? Stop, delete, okay? And reframe to a new thought. Got to make sure you take a breath in there as well, okay? And then from there, right, you can actively work through it. Now, the only way through this problem from an intimate perspective, you have to actively do it. You have to actively go through the steps to retrain your brain. And then once you do, what happens is your brain has a framework for it to look for, something new to look for, something new to do in these moments, all right? And then over time, this is what's going to happen. The first thing is your flashbacks are going to minimize, okay? You're going to start not having so many. The second thing that's going to happen is when they flare on you, you're going to be able to be like, nope, this is not what we're doing. Go through your steps, clear it, and you're going to be able to manage it. And then keep going in the intimate setting, okay? And over time, you'll go from it may be 2 minutes, right, where you're in this state, to eventually you'll be able to get rid of it in your own mind without even stopping. Like, that's how powerful this can be, all right? But it takes the climb to Everest. And basically, a lot of trauma survivors sit at base camp looking up at Mount Everest like, oh my God, I can't make the climb. And every time they try to make the climb without a guide, they fall down, right? Basically, it's like death. So, there are ways through it. But one of the other things that is super important about this process, you have to have a partner that is willing to actively hold space for you in those moments for you to work through it and be the safety and support for you. And you have to confide in your partner. And man, that space of vulnerability is hard to fucking do, isn't it? Yes. But the great thing is, when you do this with your partner, you first of all are establishing vulnerability. And you're also establishing trust. And what you're doing is you're starting to build these bonds with your partner, and you're making yourself be intimate, your intimacy stronger with your partner, okay? And then when your intimacy is stronger again, you're able to actually have sex again like you want to with your partner, right? And at the end of the day, if you're having sex with your partner, then everybody starts to be happy again. You start to feel good, like physically good again. You start to feel more empowered. You start to feel more secure about yourself. You start to feel like your relationship is not, in the depths of despair, and that you have, tools that you can, move out of the bad place, and be in a good place. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. A reminder, 1 in 3 women by the time they're age 30 have been sexually abused. Okay? 1 in 3 women by the time they're 30. And that means there's a whole lot of us having flashbacks. And the question is, are you having these conversations with your partner? Are you figuring out how to create the safe space with your partner? Do you know what you want them to do when you have the flashback, to work through it, and how to navigate it, and how to actually navigate that in your mind? So that's kind of the general thing as far as what's happening with flashbacks, both from a brain science perspective and from an energy perspective. Okay, what you need to do to clear that stuff out. And if that's not enough, I do have a course that I'm doing that is specific to flashbacks and intimacy and getting you back on track. So you can always reach out for me on that. You can reach out to me at Pallas at talktopallas.com, and I can definitely, take a look at talking to you and seeing what we can do to help you out. So I hope this video has helped, and hopefully your flashbacks eventually go away if you take some of these tips. If you already know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about cord cutting and energy clearing and rewiring your mind, if you already know that stuff, then this should get you on your path. All right, have a great day, guys.